Hello and welcome our blood viewers to RTD's News English edition. As usual, we'll begin tonight's news with the major in top highlights. Let's follow. President Gelle congratulates his new Brazilian counterpart. And in the international scene in Rwanda, fight against Ebola at Gatuna border post. Those were our major in top highlights. Welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, sent this Monday a message of congratulations to his newly elected counterpart of Brazil, Mr. Luiz Lansano Lula da Silva, declared winner of the last presidential election of this country. Your return to the Brazilian Supreme Magistracy is the result of a majority will of your compatriots who wish to evolve again under your leadership, wrote President Guelleh in the congratulatory telegram sent to Mr. Lula da Silva. There is no doubt that your immense political experience and your mastery of your country's issues will be of great help in leading Brazil towards greater well-being, progress, and prosperity, the head of state noted in the same document. The President of the Republic also took advantage of this telegram to greet the will of his newly elected counterpart of Brazil, putting as a priority a full and complete restoration of the cohesion of his country and dispensable a precondition to the realization of a great development. As for your determination to place Brazil in the fold of countries committed to the forefront of the fight against the effects of climate change, it is the mark of a foresight proper to statesmen who are in tune with the challenge of their times, said President Guelleh, reiterating his warm congratulations to Lula da Silva. Former President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva was elected on Sunday, October 30, as Brazil's new leader with 50.90% according to final results, compared with 49.10% for outgoing far-right leader Jair Bolsonaro. The leftist figure will begin his third term on January 1. The Superior Electoral Terminal Electorate leftist candidate Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva elected President of the Republic on Sunday night, deeming the gap impossible to close after 98.95% of the votes were counted, with about 49.10% of the vote. Far-right candidate Jair Bolsonaro became the country's first incumbent president to fail to win a re-election. The gap between the two opponents is very small in a country of 215 million people and nearly 156 million voters who are obliged to cast their ballots. Voting is compulsory. The margin is much narrower than the polls predicted, which had already underestimated Jair Bolsonaro's score before the first round. In his victory speech, Lula stressed that the country needs peace and unity. He also said that Brazil and the planet need a living Amazon, even going so far as to talk about zero deforestation. A double car bombing targeted the Ministry of Education in Somalia on Saturday, October 29. A total of 100 people were killed and 300 injured, Somali officials said after visiting the site of the attack. This toll could rise as the number of dead and injured continues to increase. They said the attack was not immediately claimed, but Somali authorities generally attribute to Shabab terrorists. They have been carrying out regular attacks in the country. The Islamist group linked to Al-Qaeda has been fighting the federal government supported by the international community since 2007. It was driven out of major cities in 2011 but remains firmly entrenched in large rural areas, particularly in the south of the country. Somali President Mr. Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud said while inspecting the site of the attack that the attack was horrific and targeted the intersection while it was crowded with civilians and cars, killing 100 people and injuring about 300. Noting the numbers of dead and injured were both still rising, the president said the attack, despite its brutality, reflects how close the presence of terrorists Al-Shabaab in the country is to ending, promising that such bloody attacks would not be repeated. The double suicide attack reminds us of the bloody attack that targeted the junction 5 years ago, killing about 500 people and injuring about 1,000, he stated. Only one day left before the opening of the 31st Summit of the Heads of State and Government of the Arab League. For more details about this summit, let's follow this following reportage.
En charge pour le bon déroulement de ce sommet. Les moyens nécessaires sont mobilisés.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, in an interview with the press, stated the following.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nous sommes à Alger, capitale de l'Algérie. Nous attendons donc l'arrivée du chef de l'État, Son Excellence M. Ismail Omar Guelleh, président de la République, pour sa participation.
We are in Algiers, the capital of Algeria, so we are waiting for the arrival of the head of state, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, President of the Republic, for his participation in the 31st Arab League Summit. We are in the last 3 days in preparatory meetings at the level of ambassadors, a standing committee of the Arab League, and at the level of foreign ministers. meetings in which I participated. It is a summit held 3 years after the previous one in Tunisia. Known circumstances delayed the holding of this 31st summit in Kuwait. International circumstances, such as the global food crisis, the war in Ukraine, there are many things that delayed the holding of the summit. Today, it is a summit where practically two-thirds of the Arab heads of state, princesses, kings, etc., will participate. It is a summit that is facing extremely important challenges. That is the global inflation, internal crisis in the Arab world, such as Libya, Yemen, Syria, conflicts, terrorism, which yesterday occurred in Mogadishu, caused hundreds of deaths. The terrorism that struck Djibouti on October 6th when our soldiers were taken hostage. Terrorism is central to the debates that will take place during the summit, and food security was central inflation as well. And of course, all the issues that have a more strategic vision of the long term to consolidate the unity of Arab countries, to mitigate the impact of this crisis on the Arab populations, and especially to reform the Arab League, which is really running out of steam. An organization that was created in 1945 and whose structures need to be reformed. And so these are discussions and subjects that are very important for the Arab world, and we know Algeria's role on the African continent. We know Algeria's positions, and I believe that the Algerian presidency will also have a very specific character. I have personally exposed the terrorism that Djibouti faced on 6th of October. I spoke about what happened in Somalia 3 days ago. I insisted that the fight against terrorism was a priority for our countries and that the summit should really focus on this aspect as well. I also mentioned food security. I think it's a very important issue. Sudan has a project on food security. You know that a large part of our Somali brothers are now exposed to food insecurity. This is also a subject on which we have put a lot of emphasis, and I really believe that all the subjects that concern the Arab world have been debated and discussed. On the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the establishment of the University of Mogadishu this year, the university has initiated the Award of Honorary Decoration, which is part of the role of the university in promoting, developing, and honoring activities that serve the nation and the Somali community. The Honorary Decoration is a certificate of appreciation, commemoration, respect, and admiration, and honors great personalities who have done outstanding work for the Somali nation. Therefore, this year the university honored the three great men with the honorary decorated degree, the first of which is the President of the Republic of Djibouti, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, for his leadership role in promoting national unity and the restoration of the Somali government, his brotherhood with the Somali community, and his continued support to the Somali civil society. Margelle has always prioritized the circulation of the Somali nation in the promotion of the Somali government with tireless efforts and constant support for Somalia. Therefore, while appreciating the continuous efforts and broadly support and based on the proposal of the Supreme Council of the University of Mogadishu highlighted that it's a pleasure and an honor to honor the President of the Republic of Djibouti, Honorable Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, with an honorary decorated award. The certificate was received by Mr. Mohammed Ibrahim Yusuf, Mohammed Rashid, Ambassador of Djibouti to Somalia, and he received the certificate from the hands of the President of the University of Mogadishu, Dr. Ibrahim Mohammed Mursal, and members of the Supreme Council at the University of Mogadishu. The Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, in collaboration with the head of the Social Protection and Employment Pole of the MENA region, Mr. Anush Bezayan, officially launched the Emergency Social Protection and Food Crisis Response Project today at the Sheraton Hotel. The Emergency Social Protection and Food Crisis Response Project, funded by the World Bank with an amount of $30 million, come in the aftermath of multiple exogenous crises that have had negative impacts on the Djiboutian population. This new project builds on the existing Integrated Human Capital Cash Transfer Project. As a long-time partner of the ministry and the country as a whole, the World Bank has been involved in social protection and emergency interventions in Djibouti for more than a decade and is therefore well placed to mobilize rapid support that will strengthen the country's institutional capacity over the long term. This project is perfectly in line with the social policy led by the President of the Republic of Djibouti, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, aiming at empowering vulnerable households by strengthening their skills and economic inclusion. At the end of 24 months of project implementation, MAS and the World Bank hope to concretize a social protection that is adapted and flexible to the challenge of today and tomorrow, and that has led to the construction of a more resilient society. Under the high patronage of the Secretary General of the Government, Mr. Almas Mohammed Abdullahi, the National Agency for State Information System, better known by its short name as NC, closed the National Cybersecurity Week at the Sheraton Hotel. This colorful ceremony took place in the presence of the Minister of Budget, Mr. Isman Ibrahim Roble, the Minister of Interior, Mr. Saeed Nuh Hassan, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Communication in charge of Posts and Telecommunication, Mr. Ahmad Yusuf Ilmi, the Director General of the National Agency of State Information Systems, Mr. Mustafa Mohammed Ismail, the Director General of Djibouti Telecom, Mr. Mohammed Asawi, the Director General of the National Agency of Disabled Persons, Mr. Duali Saeed Mahmoud. The main objective of the National Cybersecurity Week was to identify the stakes and challenges of cybersecurity for public and private actors. It was also to gather the concerns of the actors in the fight against cybercrime while communicating the main achievements of NC in terms of cybersecurity and to raise awareness of the risks related to cybersecurity. Let's listen now to the General Secretary of the Government.
Pour moi, donc un honneur d'être présent ce matin pour cette semaine nationale de la cybersécurité en République de Djibouti.
It is therefore an honor for me to be present this morning for the National Cybersecurity Week in the Republic of Djibouti. As such, I wanted to thank and congratulate the ANC for holding and organizing this event for a week. The digital transition is a major project in our country. It represents an important change on the political level, on the technological level, but it is also on the social and economic level. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, never ceases to reiterate the commitment of the Republic of Djibouti to make digital technology the catalyst for the development of our economy and for the improvement of the lifestyle of our people. The internet has become an essential part of our lives and our behavior. When we interact with technology, it amplifies and accelerates our actions. It can help us find useful information, benefit from a wide range of knowledge and services, stay in touch with our families and friends. It can also lead us to problems and forms of addictions. This digital transition therefore exposes us to threats that are now increasingly strong. The growing threats and risks faced by global cyberspace and networks, information system and digital data can significantly reduce. As highlighted by the Director of Local Trader, the benefits that are exposed and seriously damage our interests, our economy, our institutions, and our people. Now we move on to the second part of his speech.
C'est dans ce cadre-là que nous avons donc initié la Semaine nationale de la cybersécurité et que nous avons souhaité que vous puissiez échanger et initier un dialogue national.
It is in this context that we have initiated the National Cybersecurity Week, and we wanted you to initiate a national dialogue between the various actors you represent in order to identify the risks that are present, but also to identify our strengths. In terms of cybersecurity, to find together effective responses and take concrete steps to establish, as the Director General of ANC have stressed, the Djiboutian cyberspace of confidence conducive to our welfare and the other, our people and our development. So yes, the cyber threat is there, it is present, it is everywhere, and from year to year, it progresses. Yes, every time the crime is organized, the crime wants therefore a digital that is organized, with therefore the constitution of networks that will therefore commit in reprehensible acts and that will use systems to ask for ransoms. It will be necessary to pay to be able to locate our data, our personal data or sometimes our professional data. And as we have pointed out, the most vulnerable among us to cybercrime are our children, our teenagers, our women, who are all exposed to online scams, blackmail, and sometimes much more serious forms of cybercrime. Up to and including the point that was mentioned earlier, the strength that we are developing in favor of cybersecurity in the fight against cybercrime is one of the keys to the protection of public freedom and privacy. We have real assets to fight against cybercrime, with, as the Director General has also pointed out, the launch of the Computer Attack and Incident Warning Center, better known as CERTS. The Sultan of Gobad, Habib Mohammed Luaita, who is currently convalescing abroad, sends his sincere condolences to Sultan Ali Habib on the occasion of his accession to the throne. In his message, Sultan Habib Buko expressed his sincere congratulations and best wishes for health and happiness to Sultan Ali Habib and his Vizier Hamad Abdul Ghadir, Usman Ali Mirah, and Abdul Ghadir Daud, representing delegates of the Sultanate of Ausa and Rahai, to have in turn sent their best wishes to Sultan Ali Habib and his Vizier Hamad Abdul Ghadir. IGAD held a workshop to launch the Resilience Building for Food and Nutrition Security program in the Horn of Africa. The Resilience Building for Food and Nutrition Security in the Horn of Africa program is designed as a follow-up phase to DRSLP with the objective of building resilience to food and nutrition insecurity in the region, thereby improving the living conditions of women, youth, and the general population. It includes 6 national projects. This regional program was prepared and designed to be implemented by the participating countries, namely Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, South Sudan, and Sudan. Present were Anthony Aware, Director of Planning and Partnership, Dr. Warqani Garbihiu, Executive Secretary, Kemi Afon, Ugandan tax manager, and Abubakar Ntabi. Finally, this project will contribute to the improvement of the food and nutritional situation of food insecure people at household levels, especially those exposed to undernutrition and malnutrition in the countries of the sub-region. At the National Assembly, the Standing Committee on Social Development, enlarged to include members of the Committee of Legislation, General Administration, and Human Rights, met this Monday to examine the bill number 168/N/22/8L on the creation of the Support Fund for Disability. This meeting, which saw the participation of parliamentarians, members of other committees, was conducted by the chairman of the Committee on Social Development, the Member of Parliament, Mr. Hassan Adangede, and Kaltun Farah Saeed, chairman of the Law Committee. The government was represented by the Secretary General of the Government, and Ms. Mohammed Abdullahi, the Minister of Budget, Isman Ibrahim Roble, and Uluf Ismail Abdul, Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity. Under the chairmanship of parliamentarian Elias Ma'al Gide, the Committee on Production and Trade proceeded this Monday, October 31st, to the review of the draft law number 167/N/22nd/8L on the activities of launching, flight operation, and guidance of space objects. This working session was attended by parliamentarians, members, and non-members of the committees, as well as the Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Nabil Mohammed Ahmed, responsible for explaining and defending the draft text in committee. At the end of the instructive discussions, the commissioners issued a favorable opinion for the transmission of the aforementioned bill and with amendments to the next public session. Lieutenant General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of General Staff of the Armed Forces, received on October 30, 2022, the Ambassador of the United States of America to Djibouti, His Excellency Mr. Jonathan Pratt. This meeting took place at the Directorate of International Relations of the Officers Hotel, Hassan Basoma. After the greetings and the visual presentations, the two personalities were able to exchange on the military cooperation between the two countries and more particularly between the two armies. In this regard, the various projects and strategic objectives of both parties were discussed with the greatest diplomacy. Moreover, to avoid the disparate management of the files of the Perpetual Cooperation Djibouti-American, it was agreed that the Directorate of International Relations of the Djiboutian Armed Forces place of the meeting would be the entity in charge of the treatment, the follow-up, and the outcome of all these projects. The Ambassador of the United States of America took this opportunity to share his feelings of solidarity with the Djiboutian brothers in arms who are missing and those who fell in combat following the Beledweyne and Garabtisan attacks, and offered the possible assistance of the American side. Finally, both parties thanked each other and expressed their appreciation for the excellent relations between them. The meeting finally ended with a traditional souvenir photo to immortalize the moment. A fire broke out today late afternoon in Section 6, affecting about 5 homes. Firefighters moved as quickly as possible and were able to control and maintain the fire quickly. No casualties are reported at this time. Elements of the National Police were also present to help maintain order amidst the chaos. Indeed, the residents showed excellent patriotism in fighting the fires alongside the firefighters, doubling the efforts in managing to control the situation. The president of the community of Bil also went to the site to support, help, and reassure the inhabitants. Further investigations will be carried out to find the source and reasons for this mysterious fire that had broken out. Shifting gears to the international scene now, at the Kotana border crossing with Uganda, Rwandan authorities are now screening passengers. In response to the Ebola epidemic in Uganda, a provision stand against the disease has been set up. This is the first step in the health protocol that has been put in place. Well, bodies are blood first. We finally conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us, and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you once again. Take care.